Today I'm going to hand in my resignation to my job. I've been working as a controller for Rudolph and Slanton for the last 3.5 years. Well, 3 years, just over 3 years. Making over $242,000 a year. You know, it's a really big sacrifice to walk away from my job, and I had a lot of thought to think about why am I leaving my work. You know, it's like a lot of security that I have that I'm walking away from. And after very long, careful reflection, I said, is it the money? And I don't think so. Because if it was the money, and let's say I got offered the position of CFO, with making like $300,000 a year, would I take that role? And I thought to myself, no, I would still leave. So it's not about climbing up the ladder one more step higher to the top of the organization, which is just like right up, it's in my visibility, right? I'm just one step behind the CFO, and on a $1 billion company, I'm the second in command in the finance organization. And I thought if I were to be offered the top job, I would still walk away from that. So it's not about the position anymore, and it's not about having more money. And then I thought to myself, am I going because I want to have time and location freedom? And I thought, would I take this job if they were offering me remote work? And I thought to myself, no, I'm not leaving this job to get work on a remote position from anywhere in the world. It's it's not a good enough reason for me. I would still leave. I would not be happy even if I took a remote position. And then I had to dig a little bit deeper into why am I leaving. And I came to thought to myself, it's much more important than money, much more important than time and location freedom. I think it's got to do with me wanting to make sure that I've been living substantially below God's calling on my life. I have so much untapped potential that I feel like in my role, or even in any next role, working for somebody else, I will not be performing at the fullest potential that God has placed in my heart and in my spirit and soul. The gifts that He has given me, I'm severely performing below my fullest and best self. And so I need to leave this job in order to step into the fullness of all the gifts and talents that God has created me to have, and to be able to bet on myself. And not only that, it wasn't just to step into God's calling on my life, but I think it was so important for me to create something, a legacy that I can leave behind. Creating a business, your own business that nobody can tell you how much you can earn or how little, when to come in and when to go out, telling you that you can't earn this much and you're going to get a 3% raise next year, like another additional $5,000. It's like people defining who you are and your worth. And I didn't like that. I don't want people to tell me that this is as far as I could go, as high as I could only climb, and as how much I can earn. I've always kind of internally resent the fact that I'm being capped, that people tell me that this is the greatest that I can achieve. And so I always like to challenge myself, and I believe that what God, the dreams that He has instilled within me, and all the gifts that He has placed in my life are meant to enrich not only myself but all my family, and to live a life of impact, to make such a greater difference in people's lives. And I think just staying in this role, no matter how much I feel like, oh my God, I'm crazy to be walking away from so much money, but I think it's important to be able to tap into that version of ourselves and trust God, and then just surrender and not rely on my own wisdom and understanding, but believe in God's promises for my life that we are meant for greatness. And I think starting my own business, it's one way that we can tap into all God's gifts that and great plans that He has in store for our lives, and be able for me to create a business that I can leave to my children, to be able to take care of my kids, my husband, my mom, and my brothers and sisters. Something to leave behind once I am gone. Like, for example, like if I leave my job today, it's like, what am I taking with me? Nothing. What? It's like fancy retirement fund? No. When you say you quit, you walk out with just a shirt on your back. And they don't, really care about you, in the sense that, make sure that you're going to be financially secure when you're no longer providing them any value. And so once you stop providing that value, that's it. That's the end of the benefits that you have. And so I wanted to be able to, when I leave or when I stop working, all the businesses and the investments that, that I build for myself, they're still going to be able to provide for me and my children. Then I'm not going to be worried. They're not going to be worried about whether they have any health insurance to take care of themselves when I'm gone. And I'm not going to be working till I'm 50, like 60, 70, or 80, God forbid, just to be able to afford health insurance and be able to take care of my kids and take care of myself when I'm no longer able to work and my husband can't able to work anymore. I still would want to make sure that we're financially stable. And so the only way you could do that is to build your own business. And that way, your family can be taken care of. And I could leave something that I am proud of, and they could be proud of, and they could remember that, think fondly of me while I'm gone from this earth, that mommy did, plan for this day, and still taking care of them even from my grave. And so that's what, I want to build a lasting legacy. And there's so much in me that I wanted, to live a life of impact, to be able to motivate people and inspire people to follow their dreams, and to help people. And I think in my current role, I barely make enough just to be able to afford to live in the Bay Area. And so, I'm living from paycheck to paycheck, barely afford to so expensive, the rents and the bills, and free kids. It might be going to college, and kids that were going to college, and one's about to go to college. I'm so tired of just living the grind, and I really want to be able to afford to buy my own home, afford to pay for my kids to go to college, pay for the best college that money can buy. Having a business, be able to have the ability to have untapped potential in making money. It's so critical to us to living our best life, and be able to afford the things that are very important to us, taking care of our family. And so that's one of the motivations that I said it's so important that I walk away from my job today. And also thinking about, what I was mentioning before about tapping into all the gifts and talent that God has given us. I want to go to the grave and say to myself that I had no regrets, that I gave it my all and everything that I had. And I'm not happy with that. To step into all that God has blessed me with, and be able to pay it forward, and to inspire people, and to live a life of that have provided valuable contributions to the community, and to build people up. I think that in my current role, I'm being kept at that, and it's not allowing me to display all the glory and all the blessings that God has instilled within me, and I need to share that with the world. And following my dreams and stepping into all God's blessings is all part of His plan to manifest, His greatness through me. And staying at this role, I think I'm not doing a very good job at manifesting and letting the world know all the blessings and amazing things that God has done in my life. And I want to go to the grave. I want to live life that is so full of all of that, and to die empty, that I have like robbed the grave, that I've given it everything. And so that's like one of the most important motivations, that I think that we're here on this earth for a purpose, and it's our job to listen to God's still small voice that is every day knocking at our door, knocking on our conscience. And it's our responsibility to be able to, if you don't hear it, to try to quieten all the voices around the world, so you can tap in to God's still small voice, to find the purpose that He has placed you on this earth at this particular time in history. It's so important that you listen to that voice. And that the second thing, when you hear that voice, is that to move and to obey. If you don't move and obey God's small voice that is in the voice, sometimes you wait for a big bang, a big revelation. You think that you're waiting for, like, booming loud voice, hey Betty, move your ass to the next role and form that business. But sometimes, a lot of times, it's not. It's like a whisper. It's a quiet whisper, and it's a nagging one. And I find over the last year that I've been trying to rationalize it, and trying to to ignore it, and trying to just push it to the back of my mind. I'm thinking maybe that I'm being paranoid, I'm being ungrateful. And I realized, like, over time, it just wouldn't let go. The dreams that God has placed in my heart just not let me go. A lot won't let go. And so, and it's been eating at me, eating me alive inside, not to move. And I finally, like, come to the piece. It's like, stop. And I've been trying to listen to self-help stuff, trying to tell my family about what, I want to do. And I think I've been, like, trying to get permission from people trying to seek validation from them, trying to say, for them to give me comfort and say things that will make me feel secure, that it's the right time to leave. And I finally, like, realized it's never going to be a right time to leave. I'm always going to have doubts. I'm always going to have a lot of fear. Stepping into this and pulling the rug from under me and not having security. And I think that that's what faith is. It's not having the security and always having the doubt, always having the fear, but to step out in spite of your fear and trust in the Lord's promises. Trust in God, and let go of the security blanket that I seem to feel like that is holding me up, that's keeping me afloat. And instead of relying on God's gift, like this great job with a great pay, relying on God's gifts and promise, instead choose to rely on He who gave me the gift, to rely and to trust in God's promise, trust in God Himself, and not just in God's promises. On the gift, on the blessing, not to rely on the blessing, because the blessing is not my source. My job is not my source, of how I'm having the good life. My source of all the great things and all the blessings and that I have in my life is from God, and I need to listen and obey God, and not to put my trust and reliance on the gifts of God, but on God Himself. And so it's been a faith walk, and I think it's a struggle for me to come to just letting go on relying on the material things that seem to sustain me, but to bank on God Himself. and his promises for my life. And what is it, even though I don't see the path straight and clear ahead of me, but I trust in God and throw my mercy at his feet, and be okay with that, and not seeing the world, my road clearly mapped out, but to bank on God's promises and on God himself and for his love and provision for me. And so I am just so grateful that I think that I've come to kind of accept that, and to be okay with all my flaws, that I might not have figured it all out, that it's never going to be clearly mapped out, and just be that I'm going to be okay. My family's going to be okay. That all I have to do is to listen to God's small voice and obey his calling and move, and to rely, put all my hands and all my future of my family, and the stability and security of my family in God's hands. And I thank him so much for sustaining me, for taking care of me, and for blessing me. And I'm thanking not only for the past, but also for the present, for what I have. I'm so grateful for my husband and my children. And I'm so grateful for them for believing me, and for my family for supporting me all this time. And I'm so grateful for God for giving me and for blessing me, my beautiful family who believe and love me and support me in this journey. And so I'm about to go out there and quit to follow my dreams. So and saying goodbye to what I had thought was security in my life, but now I'm stepping into God's security blanket. It is, to tell you the truth, it's been crazy. I'm so scared, but at the same time, I'm so full of hope and joy and gratefulness, and so much excitement of what God has got in store for me and for my family and for my future. And I'm encouraging every one of you out there that is facing and going through the same journey as I do, to not be afraid, but to believe and bank on God, and put all your trust in him, and he will supply and provide for you, even when you don't see a clear road ahead of you. I love each and every one of you. Last Diana, Eddie, Bella, Sunshine, Rainbow, and thank you to Mama and all my family, my brothers and my sisters. Can't name all of you guys because you guys are so important in my life, and I don't want to miss any one of you, but I am so grateful for all that your love and your support. And I miss my dad so much. I love him so much. He's like one of the biggest reasons why I have always believed that there's greatness within me, because my grandfather Hulholo and my dad Etanolo has spoken belief and faith that I am meant for great things in this life, and I believe them ever since I was a toddler. And I never shaken that, have that belief in me, no matter even my doubts. But I remember those two great men in my life that loved and supported me. They believed in me. They saw greatness within me, even when I didn't see it. And so many times I doubted. But I think that's what goes to show for us parents. You have to speak life over your children, because long after you're gone, your message lives within them. It lives through them decades after you pass away. The life that you have breathed into their minds and into their spirit lives on, and it will help them to have courage and make the decisions that they have in their lives. You don't know how much influence that you have. Keep on speaking life and breathing life into your children's mind and to their spirit. And your life and your words will be blessings to them and their children, and leave a great long legacy far beyond that is much more valuable than all the gold that and any inheritance, material things that you leave for them. So I love you again, and I pray for each and every one of you guys, and pray for me too and my family. But thank you so much for everything. Love you.